Through the prayers of Holy Fathers, Lord Jesus Christ, our God, have mercy on us and save us. Amen. This is Father Joseph Swaden, and today we're going to be talking about an interesting chart. I do want to apologize for having to reschedule. There's been a lot going on, and there continues to be. So I'm using the handy picture-in-picture feature of this platform to put up a chart that I received Tuesday, I want to say, Monday. I had seen versions of this chart before, but they were largely illegible. I could never see the full chart, so I could never really see what was going on. But I was confronted by, not confronted by, but I was asked by a listener or a viewer in Scandinavia about who we were, who my synod was. And when I mentioned, that I was with the Autonomous Metropolia, he said, "Oh, okay, so you're in communion with the Avlona Synod, which is correct, and the Palestinian Orthodox Church, which isn't correct." And I had heard this before, so I was a little bit confused. I was like, how can two or three people get such an obscure detail wrong? Adamantly so. And then I said, where did you get that information? And he gave me this chart. And so if you go further, you can see that it is a large chart, which will go to the key first, which is over here. For some reason, they're including Lutherans and evangelicals in the Eastern Orthodox description. It has a handle that says Vincenzo1. I'm presuming that is a Twitter handle. However, when I go to it, it's private. May God bless everyone in the chat and everyone who's watching today, including you, Reader John. So let us delve a little bit deeper. This is where it starts getting weird. So this apparently was some sort of put together chart. It's by who, we're not exactly sure. Maybe it was this Vincenzo fellow. Maybe he just spread it. It doesn't look like it's the work of one person. But what I can say is that it is extremely misleading. And when I say extremely, you're about to see just how extremely misleading it is. In the first place, it kind of has these overlapping circles. And the reason for this is supposed to be World Orthodoxy right here. It's all in purple. And so, this is kind of the autocephalous Orthodox. But the idea is that it's all basically kind of interconnected. And then you have all these other things in the periphery. However, there are things that don't make sense about it. And when I say that there are things that don't make sense about it, it's that there's information that cannot be correct. Like, you can look at some of it and say, well, this could be maybe constructed if it was 2018, or if it was 2016, or in the case of the Latvians, 2022. So it doesn't match. Somebody would have had to continually get a whole bunch of information wrong in order to put this together by accident, which leads me to believe that this was not put together by accident, but in fact was put together to make these people look good and these people look confused. Now, there's some really funny stuff in this that's going to confuse you. Like, for example, there are literally dozens of old believer sects, but apparently the only ones that matter to this chart are the priestless kind of the priesthood groups. Well, this one's Bezpopoci, but these are not. So the point is, the rest of the old believers, all the crazy ones, don't exist. They're just gone. So let's get to some of the confusion that we find here. For example, some of this stuff looks a bit, it looks correct. But when you start noticing certain groups get like their own church section, like apparently the Western Rite Vicariate, which isn't even a diocese, suddenly is like listed like an independent church. You have other issues. The Ukrainian Orthodox Church under the Moscow Patriarchate, for example, is outside the big circles. It's no longer apparently recognized by anyone, even though it's recognized by half the groups in here. Meanwhile, inside the circles, the Orthodox Church of Ukraine is there. So they clearly, that's the accepted church, which somehow goes into all of the circles here. And the worst part of this is that the circles are clearly meant to try to represent intersecting communions, when in reality, what they're doing is they're showing church divisions. So these churches here and here marginally do not recognize each other. But because they're in the circles, they're kind of united, even though that's exactly the opposite of the truth. Now we can start on the peripheries, because that's where, everyone else belongs in the peripheries. They're not official. And we have the Ukrainian Lutheran Church, which isn't an Orthodox church at all. So they just threw that in there. You have the Evangelical Orthodox Church, which barely exists. And most of it was integrated into the Antiochians and a few in the OCA, and even a couple in the Patriarchate of Jerusalem back in the 90s. Like, this is almost a defunct group that is just put there for no reason whatsoever. We have the Belarusian Autocephalous Orthodox Church. I don't know how much they have there. The Latvian Orthodox Church, and this is what I'm talking about with the time thing, you'll see this pop up as I get more to the right side. They're not recognized by anybody, apparently, even though that's because of 2022. I guess they declared themselves autocephalous in light of Russia invading Ukraine. So apparently Russia invading Ukraine made all their mysteries invalid in the eyes of world orthodoxy. This is the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of the Moscow Patriarchate, which apparently, even if it's it's supposed to be independent, we assume that they still recognize what's his name, Metropolitan. Somebody can help me with that. The Metropolitan running the UOCMP. There is no link to the chart. It was given to me in a private message, and I cannot find its origin. But since we're all here and we can try to do that, let's see if we can find an origin. Give me a moment. I am going to see. Okay, that's the wrong one. So kill that. Hold on. I'm looking for this now. Recent. No. Downloads. Okay, where is this? Recent. Can I not open it if I have the file manager open? Give me a moment, Father. I'm going to try to see if I can figure this out, because I don't know why it's not showing up here. I just downloaded this. But I got it through a private message. So that kind of made it difficult for me to... Oh, wait, maybe it's in pictures? No. Hold on. Let me put this back up, because I'm going to... That's... Internet graphics, photos. Okay. So let me see if I can screenshot a nice chunk of it. Let's see if I can get like this much. What we're going to do is we're going to take this and take a picture. And now I can paste that. And so now what I am going to do here, let's cancel that, is we are going, let me see here, can find it. If you can, I'm trying to see if I can find its actual origin in Google. So I'm doing that right now. Let me share with you what I am doing. So we shall present. Okay, let's stop screen and present. Share screen, Google Lens, and let us see if we can find the origin of this chart. Amazingly, my little ad thing made it in there. What are these? Okay, so this is the best fan made. Okay, what on earth? Okay, this is a video. This, not that. Okay, let me see here. Reddit. Oh, this is what chaos looks like. This looks like it is the origin of the chart. So it looks like it was, I don't know if it was created by a Redditor. And looking here to see if there's any comments. Okay, people writing stupid things about toll houses. Yeah, you see, that is an interesting detail I was going to point out, which is that magically this does not include the monophysites. So let's get back to the chart. So it looks like, yeah, let me get this this listed thing here, and I am going to put that in the chat. So this looks like where it came from, basically. Let's get back to this chart, because this is what you call really kind of deceptive presentation. So we're gonna present. Let me get back to sharing the window, photos, share. Okay, so we're back here. And so let's take some more looks as we go back to here. So all right, so we're not even going to touch the stuff that's within the circles. Clearly, that is meant to give the appearance that everyone here is at least marginally united, which isn't really true. And Mount Athos, of course, they treat as a country, even though it's not. But okay, so we continue on. The Abkhazian Orthodox Church. This is another recent development. They put Lakov outside, which I'm not surprised. Now, they've kind of put, this is where it starts to get problematic. If you look here, you have the Artok and the Roak. Roak is listed down here by itself, and Artok is listed down here by itself. Now, both of these churches, to some degree, have relations with other true Orthodox churches, some positive, some negative. You wouldn't know that from this chart. They're just floating here outside the big circle. The old believers are doing better, because the old believers are, they're the go-to whenever anyone wants to talk about the true Orthodox. It's like these people be like, oh, they're like the old believers. So you can kind of see the underlying mentality that is going behind the creation of this map. Certain things which seem inexplicable, like the Evangelical Orthodox Church being listed there with the Latvian Orthodox Church outside the circle, take place with events that are 20, 30 years apart. But when we get to true Orthodoxy, it's only going to get worse. So we may as well. Okay. The first thing that is problematic is the Florinite / Kiprianite genuine Orthodox churches. This is where you get into another thing where it's like, oh, that's really confusing. This implies, of course, that the Kiprianites, the Synonym resistance, still exists. So insofar as they actually list the metropolis of Oropos and Philly as its own jurisdiction. They put the Bulgarians there. They put Rokor. For the most part, this is accurate, except that these two are part of this, and this is just a diocese of this. They were smart enough to take out the Old Calendar Orthodox Church of Romania and the Serbian True Orthodox Church, even though there are connections with other True Orthodox. These are just not even true. They're nothing. I don't know what they are. I don't know what the Lusitanian Orthodox Catholic Church is. I frankly have never heard of it. I'm not sure what it's referring to. This is particularly infuriating. Georgist genuine Orthodox churches. Now, that is a unique detail. If anyone has studied the history of true Orthodoxy as long as I have, I can tell you, up until this chart, I had never heard of Georgist genuine true Orthodox churches. Well, what could they be? The Genuine Orthodox Church of America. Now, that's the name of Gregory of Colorado's group. The Genuine Orthodox Church of Bulgaria and the Genuine Orthodox Church of Romania. But the Genuine Orthodox Churches of Bulgaria and Romania, right there and right there, are not in communion with Gregory of Colorado. This doesn't make sense until you realize that Gregory has followers in Bulgaria and Romania. Very small, isolated, 1 or 2 parishes each, maybe a couple of missions that directly report to Colorado as the Archbishop of Colorado and all the earth. which then leads you to the name. Archbishop Gregory of Bulasali, that, if I remember correctly, is his family name, came from a family of immigrants. And I can explain this, and I think I have on the show previously. Many times people who immigrated from the Middle East, especially in the 40s and 50s, took on American names or American sounding Christian names so that they would not be bothered. In the case of Bishop Gregory's family, the family name was George. Georgist, as in George, as in Gregory George. They've literally given an entire whole global circle to the Colorado cult and pretended that there's like entire, Refined Canine asks, is the American Orthodox Catholic Church under Patriarch Nikon of America on the chart? No, it is not. That's a Vagante group. Give this guy time. I'm sure he'll find it eventually. But we get to the point of confusion that came to me when I was asked about this. And oh boy, did they get the information twisted on our thing. If you take a look, you've got some things correct. You have the Metropolis of North and South America and the British Isles. Okay, that's us. Very nice. The Metropolis of Ecuador and Latin America, I'm not sure. I would have to ask. I'd have to ask our Greek clergy if they are still part of the Avlona Synod. I thought they might have been separated, but they might not be. But in any case, it's not an independent group. Even so, it would be part of the Avlona Synod. The Palestinian Orthodox Church in America did not last long at all. They were led by Ramsey Musalem, who was a scammer. When the Synod found out all the false claims that he had made, etc., they broke communion with him. But this was almost immediate. It is almost impossible for somebody of goodwill to think that they're in communion with us. Our Synod actually strongly wrote an open letter, as I believe did the Russians. The ones under Seraphim, or they call Raphaelites here. So the point is, the idea that the Palestinian Orthodox Church was ever part of us isn't true. So it's all made up. Like somebody had to look through the history and selectively edit information to come up with this. There's no official source that would list this. And finally, just for added confusion, the Old Calendar Synod of Milan. Now, note that this did not say the Holy Synod of Milan, and I can explain that. And so the Holy Synod of Milan, which gave the Metropolitan autonomy, functionally fell apart. Metropolitan of Logios apostatized until the 11th hour of his life. And most of the parishes collapsed. Some of the buildings went to the Moscow Patriarchate. For all intents and purposes, there was no Holy Synod of Milan anymore. There were a couple of former bishops who had left the synod previously who tried to form another Synod of Milan, but they ended up going into communion with New Calendarists and another independent kind of grouping. But they're not a synod. They're not Old Calendar. None of this is real in that sense. And give me just a moment. Theodore, is there a picture of this chart here? There isn't, but I can. Well, hold on. Let me see if I can put it up here. Give me a second. I'm going to try to upload it to the group chat so people can see it. All right, so there we go. And so you should have it there. That's the large version. But now it gets worse because, this is the International Union of Genuine Orthodox Churches. That's true. The metropolis of Germany and Europe was shortly in communion with the Avlona Synod. They were part of the Synod, but there was a breakdown in communications. They left and they actually joined with the Macarian Synod. And if you're wondering where the Macarian Synod is, it's not here. It's just not here. The Matthewites, if you're wondering where they're all gone. They've just vanished. All of them, they're gone. Like they serve no good interest, I guess, to whoever made this chart. They're like, get rid of the Macarians, get rid of the Matthewites, all the Matthewites, just get rid of them all. And so there you go. But at least the old believers got some treatment, and they put the ROAC and the RTOC here on the bottom. So yeah, this is one of the most inaccurate things I've ever seen, and it's like it. The worst part of it is that it looks like it's under the guise of true research. So people have been presenting some of these things to us for a little while, a few years, I would say, a couple of years, because that it says 4 months in the Reddit chart, uh, and I've seen it longer, but I've never seen a full size one until this week. So I just had to share it with you because if you ever see people with this in their back pocket or citing information from this chart, you can know that a lot of it is inaccurate. And the worst part is, it is most likely intentionally inaccurate. Um, Refined Canine notes Archbishop Ambrose Moran apparently joined Gregory's cult at some point. Yes, that is correct. That's exactly where he came from. And he was single-handedly received by Gregory, and then they used, so he took in a sedevacantist Roman Catholic bishop, took him in, and then they made Father George into Bishop John. So, for all intents and purposes, for all of Gregory's attacks on the Matthewites for single-handed consecrations, for all intents and purposes, Bishop John of Gregory's group is in fact a single-handed consecration. Let me see here. Why is Eastern Lutheran and Evangelical on there? I don't know. They're not part of Eastern Orthodoxy, but if you had to ask my professional opinion, it is to make everything outside of the little circles here look as confused as possible. It is to make you feel like if you're not in this circle thing, this double, quadruple circle where churches are apparently getting tossed out like, randomly, like Latvia, then you're not safe. Unless you're with the old believers, because they have little dots around their churches. Okay, and so yeah, unfortunately, that is true. So this has been one of the most shocking experiences. I was really glad I was able to clarify with the correspondent who reached out to me, and show me this full chart, which I had seen hints of, but I had not ever really fully seen. And upon seeing it, now we know precisely how deceptive people are being with this stuff. Okay, so yeah, Wasna says, so basically, if you aren't with the ecumenists, you're screwed. Yeah, it's a clown show. The whole thing's a clown show. It doesn't show, of course, any intercommunion. It doesn't show any formal communion between a lot of people who do have it. It spans across timelines. So, it has stuff from like 1990, but then stuff from 2022. But meanwhile, it doesn't show that most of these groups have had intercommunion with other groups, on the right hand side. They don't want you to know that. And here's the worst one is right here, the worst offender in my opinion, and that is the Greek Orthodox Church of Antioch and Antiochia. Okay, the Antiochians. Where are the Monophysites? The Redditor commented that it seems like they don't want to mention the Monophysites, who would at least be sort of part of the circle around here or something, or at least get their own fancy Russian old believer kind of dash things. And so, yeah, I thought there were only 2 old believer groups. What is the difference between the 4? Well, these are actually no. There's more than way more than 4 old believer groups. It's just that 3 of these are priested, and they're using this one as kind of a filler for all of the non-priested old believer groups. That is such an inaccurate way to present things. So yeah, so it doesn't have any Monophysites, even though there's some communion there. It doesn't list communions between true Orthodox very clearly. The Rokana doesn't exist. The Matthewites don't exist. The Macarians don't exist. Like, you would get such a bad and distorted picture of the full scale of true Orthodoxy. And that is, of course, the intent. The Russian Orthodox Autonomous Church and the Artok are 2 very large churches. The ROAC is, frankly, massive. So to just kind of put it here in the corner next to the Catholic Orthodox Church of France, it's really deceptive. It's really kind of deceptive. And so it's just like, what a mess. what a mess they want you to kind of believe in. And then to make things worse, they like, you got to give them credit for making Archbishop Gregory's thing like really huge. Yeah, beware the circles, indeed. So yeah, that's kind of the whole thing is just tragic. So yeah, the link to the image is in the chat. Also, if you're on the Discord, it is there, so you can get a copy of this incredibly inaccurate chart, missing a lot of information. Yep. Oh wow, that's a very good comment. Steve S says this chart is really effective with sub 90 IQs into bright and shiny objects, but it works. If it's the only information that they're allowed to have, then they're going to get inaccurate information. Let me see here. Did Gregory reordain Moran? I'm not sure. I want to say that he did, but I can't guarantee anything he did was canonical on that, because he would have needed another bishop just to receive him in and to make that determination. I have no idea what he did. I assume he probably did a single-handed consecration on him. And so yeah, this is just tragic. I mean, I'm like in awe of how terrible this chart is. But this is what passes for information in World Orthodox circles, and then they say, "Oh, we know all about them." Well, first off, based on this chart, no, they really don't know much about us at all, and they certainly don't follow us well, and they like making up stuff, and it's just a sad thing to look at. So hopefully, this video with I think I fairly explained most of it. I didn't touch stuff in the circle, even though it's all its own mess of things, that these circles are actually kind of representing who's not in communion, not who is in communion. So yeah, it is a mess. And this is a very skillfully made mess to make it look like everyone outside the circles is a mess, when in fact the mess is far bigger than anyone could have possibly predicted. Again, we do ask for your support here at NFTU, and if you're able to do that, please do, whether through donations or in prayer. I think this covers basically everything that we wanted to cover. It's a shame that we don't have a more accurate chart. Maybe someone will take the time to make one, but it won't be me. So have a great night. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you for your prayers, good wishes, donations, and I will get better at intros and outros, and have a great rest of your day. The Georgian True Orthodox, technically they're not even listed. Hakna is not listed. Hakna's not here, and so the Macarian, I think there's Macarian Georgians, and there's also Georgians under Avlona who are listed, but they're listed as a separate jurisdiction, and that's not accurate. So in any case, thanks everyone for listening, for being there. Take a look at the chart, study the problems in this chart, see what's missing, listen to this video again, and wow your friends with shock. Have a great night, and may God bless you all in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.